Welcome back to Moose on the Loose, your source of uncorrupt media. My name's David. In today's top stories, we've got a bunch of news here. First off, this big one coming out where it's been shown that the WEF has been linked to ArriveCan and having our data. Mindone claimed the reason for his decision to go with staff augmentation instead of outsourcing with the ArriveCan app to a third party was to keep sensitive Canadian data on government cloud servers. However, GC Strategy's billing indicates Toronto-based firm KPMG, who partnered with the World Economic Forum, was hired to manage cloud data and security, which you can see here. So yeah, they basically gave all our ArriveCan data to Klaus Schwab and the WEF. Yeah, that's happening. Let's take a look at the current poll numbers because Pierre Poilievre is once again dominating.
Take a look at where things stand right now. Conservatives at 43%, Liberals at 24%, New Democrats 18%, and the Bloc.
So yeah, Pierre Poilievre's up another 3 points, Trudeau's down, and NDP is down. What do you know? So we're going to jump over to Twitter now. At Daisy Media posted this video where Justin Trudeau is heckled on the street, which is always a great sign. It's a great thing to see, no matter who's doing it.
Mr. Trudeau, would you care to
Are you going to resign like Rhoda? You should resign like Rhoda.
Would you care to comment on the massive group of Palestinian demonstrators that just took over the street in front of your office? They accused you and your government of genocide. They're marching through the streets of Ottawa right now, banging drums, snarling traffic all over the place.
You invited a Nazi.
Any comment?
Are you going to resign?
Any comment at all? You going to address any of the issues going on in your country?
You made Rhoda resign, Trudeau. You made him resign.
What about?
You invited him to dinner. Are you going to resign like him?
Can we talk about ArriveCan maybe?
Answer to the
$60 million?
Yeah, how about the ArriveCan app?
No? How about you choose? You choose the scandal.
Get vaccinated and get on a plane.
The Emergencies Act you invoked here being illegal? Unjustified? An overstep of your authority? Do you want to address any of the conflicts and issues we have in our country?
Anything, Trudeau? Anything to say to the people?
Nothing to say, eh, big guy?
People. We know you're a narcissist.
She's right.
You're a sociopath.
Just taking a stroll with all your buddies here.
You are a sociopath. You are a narcissist.
Anyways. Clearly he's not going to answer a single question.
I don't want you to be our prime minister anymore.
Can you at least give us the narcissistic wave you're famous for? At least give us the narcissist wave, man. Come on.
Nobody likes you anymore.
One wave, man. One wave. One wave.
You have nothing. Have no legacy, Trudeau. You have no legacy.
That was great. Well done. This is what we need more people. Just the second he pokes his head out of a door, just heckle the crap out of him. Just make it so he's so uncomfortable he wants to leave our country. We got a clip here from a Liberal MP when she's asked about Pierre Poilievre absolutely owning the reporters yesterday who were heckling him. It was just rude.
Spreading Justin Trudeau's message.
Why did you
and so you're interrupting me again. You're interrupting me again. I am answering the question.
Do you regret granting?
Your question is false. So if you can allow me to correct your falsehoods.
She calls this a threat on democracy. This is unbelievable.
So I just want to get back on the altercation between Pierre Poilievre yesterday and a journalist from Canadian Press. First of all, I want to say that he's pretty thin-skinned. It's our job when we're politicians to answer questions from journalists. We're accountable to the Canadian population, and it's the journalist's job to ask those questions. Some questions are difficult, some questions are easy. Yesterday's question was pretty easy. He was just asked to explain why his party introduced an amendment to lift fees for Canadian broadcasters. It's a pretty easy question. It's his party that brought that forward. So yes, when you're a politician, you need to answer questions. And when you're attacking the press, when you're attacking our free press, you're also attacking democracy. It's unworthy of a leader. So I just want to get back.
So Trudeau never answering a question, what does that mean? Is he not a leader? This is just disgraceful. Let me just do a quick reenactment of Justin Trudeau answering any question. Come on, lady. He doesn't answer anything. If you're on X or Twitter, why don't you follow me here? I'm starting to branch out, and I'm really starting to use Twitter a lot more now. That's where I've got this reposted, this clip of Trudeau being heckled. We've got, look at this, Justin Trudeau. He sure showed up for work, and Chrystia Freeland. Wow, look at that, amazing.
Leader of the opposition.
This Prime Minister and his Arrive scam are not worth the cost or the corruption. After yesterday's Auditor General revelations of corruption, waste, and mismanagement, I have written the RCMP asking them to expand their criminal investigation into the Prime Minister's Arrive scam. He has a track record of blocking criminal investigations. He tried to protect SNC-Lavalin from prosecution. He blocked the RCMP from investigating his illegal vacation to Billionaire Island. Will he stay out of the way, or will he again try to block the RCMP's criminal investigation into Arrive scam?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
COVID-19 pandemic was a once-in-a-generation, even once-in-a-century occurrence in which every decision we took was designed to protect Canadians' lives. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, even in a situation like that, there are rules that need to be followed, and we expect, and all Canadians expect, public servants to follow those rules, and we will, of course, encourage the RCMP to do its work, but it doesn't take politicians, even leaders of the opposition, to tell the RCMP to do their job. They do their job, Mr. Speaker, and they do it well.
He knows full well he's got them in his back pocket. It's become very clear the RCMP is horribly corrupt, especially near the top. That's what all the sources say, that the near the top, the RCMP, just beyond corrupt.
They do their job unless the Prime Minister blocks them from doing their job, like he did in his criminal offense, where he committed the crime of accepting a gift from someone who was seeking a government contract from him. He blocked the RCMP from investigating him. And COVID-19 is something he saw as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to fill the pockets of his friends, whether it was the WE scandal, in which his family received $500,000, or whether it was Frank Baylis, or now the Arrive scam. Will he stay out of the way and let the police investigate him and his corrupt government in Arrive scam?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, even a few years later in the pandemic, we see the Conservative leader reverts to type. While we were focusing on protecting Canadians every possible way we could, they were peddling conspiracy theories, Mr. Speaker, about vaccinations, about what have you. So while he continues to make personal attacks, we're going to continue to make sure we're delivering for Canadians. And yes, we will make sure that all rules are followed, and there are consequences for people who broke the laws or broke the rules. But we will continue to be there for Canadians while he plays partisan games.
Good answer. Dude, this is not conspiracy theories. There's a big trail of evidence, man.
Leader of the opposition.
Proof that he's not worth the cost or the corruption. He's now calling the Auditor General a conspiracy theorist. Now that she's revealed that his Arrive scam went from $80,000 to at least $60 million and counting, that two insiders got $20 million working from their home basement from this Prime Minister, that top Liberal government officials accepted high-end whiskeys and dinners in exchange for contracts that they let the contractors write for themselves. So once again, will he stay out of the way and let the police investigate his government, or will he try to block it again?
So the two people that got that money, we know one of them, Christian Firth, it's not a cottage, it's a chalet.
It's a chalet. It's not a cottage.
The other guy, somebody posted a picture of him from LinkedIn. There he is. Darren Anthony, GC Strategies. So that's the other guy that was a part of taking that $20 million of our dollars.
The opposition needs to work on his French. I think he just needs to work on his listening skills. Because in French, 2 answers ago, I complimented and thanked the Auditor General for her work in ensuring that rules are followed and processes have consequences if they are misdone. This is a fact that we know that even during a pandemic, we need to be stepping up to protect people along the rules. That's why there will be consequences for anyone who broke those rules or those laws, while we continue to do everything we need to do to deliver for Canadians, to support people in their daily lives and build a better future for all Canadians.
This guy just insult his French. That's his rebuttal is. What a big baby, man.
It shows how out of touch he is. So will the Prime Minister take this crisis seriously? follow the recommendations and ensure people have a safe place to call home.
I very much welcome the interests and the efforts of the New Democratic Party to support us in everything that we're doing on delivering on housing. We recently signed housing accelerator agreements with Cpac, with Nunavut, with cities across the country.
Yeah, dude, no one respects you, Trudeau. You're an absolute disgrace and disaster. So later on in the House of Commons, we got this.
The honourable member from Edmonton Riverbend.
So the Prime Minister found over $60 million for his ArriveCan app, but he continues to want to increase the carbon tax by 23% on April 1st. And now we are seeing the far-left NDP Alberta leadership candidates weigh in, and I quote, "Nobody is on board with what the Prime Minister did with the federal carbon tax. He absolutely broke trust and broke confidence. After 8 years of failure, how can he continue to raise this carbon tax on Canadians?"
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Parliamentary Budget Officer has reiterated many times, 8 out of 10 Canadians get more from carbon pricing back than what they pay.
Wrong.
Carbon pricing works, Mr. Speaker.
Wrong.
It helps reduce pollution in Canada, something
Wrong.
that the Conservative Party campaigned on during the 2021 election campaign. The difference between them and us is that on this side of the House, we are serious about fighting climate change and working with Canadians to help them face affordability issues.
I'll speak for all Canadians right now. Name one thing that carbon tax has done. Have you guys planted 1 billion trees? What have you done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing but line your pockets. You guys are fools and losers and criminals.
Well, I have more, Mr. Speaker. Another Alberta leadership candidate said, and I quote, "There's no way people can be on board with a federal plan, even when the Prime Minister isn't on board, when he's playing games with it." And another one said, "We must move away from a consumer carbon tax." And another one said, "The federal carbon levy is dead." When he loses the support of the far-left Alberta NDP, this minister must know he has a problem. Will he cancel his carbon tax before April 1st, once and for all?
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, since we're talking about Alberta, I wonder if the Conservative Party of Canada and its leader support the freeze that the provincial government has put on $30 billion worth of investment. Thousands of jobs are at risk in Alberta because of the reckless decision of the Premier to freeze renewable energy development, the fastest sector for energy development in this country, Mr. Speaker. What has the Conservative Party have to say about that? Nothing, because they don't care about economic development, they don't care about fighting climate change, and they don't care about helping Canadians.
That's real rich. That is real rich saying that. This government has been the worst government ever in my lifetime in Canada. The worst.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister wasted more than $60 million on his ArriveCan scam app, and he's going to make Canadians pay more by quadrupling the carbon tax. It's going up 23% on April the 1st.
Right now in Canada, Mr. Speaker, we have a province in Alberta that has to be talking about rationing water next summer because of climate impacts. We have atmospheric rivers in British Columbia that is affecting thousands of people, ski resorts that have to close down. We're seeing the cost of climate change that have not doubled, not tripled, that have increased 10 times over the last decade. What is the answer of the Conservative Party of Canada? Make pollution free again, Mr. Speaker. Let the biggest, most profitable and polluting countries get off the hook. Not on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. We will fight.
Canada becoming net zero would only affect the entire world by 1.5%. That's going to do nothing. It would literally do nothing. If they took our carbon tax dollars and planted a whole bunch of trees or worked out a whole bunch of deals with China to get them to reduce their emissions, then it would actually be a little bit more believable what they're doing here. But they're clearly just mugging us. They're just walking right in and just taking our money and doing nothing with it. And they say that's doing something. It's just complete bull crap. These liberals are loser liars. Next off in this housing announcement, Sean Fraser basically announcing money for some rural communities. It's the same thing from this guy. He talks about how it's so important to provide for housing, etc., when really they should have done this day one and then increased immigration, not break every system in Canada, whether it's not just housing, but the doctors, everything is pushed to the limits. And then, oh yeah, we're doing stuff about housing. Yeah, I swear, yeah, you guys are useless fools.
But it's important that we ensure that we continue to support housing growth in small towns and rural communities, like the one that I call home, right across Canada. There is an enormous opportunity in small town Canada and in rural communities to address the housing challenges. When we get it right, the quality of life that people get to enjoy is remarkable.
Yeah, you guys got it wrong, like completely wrong every time. I like how they use the word opportunity. It makes it seem like it's a good thing. It's a bad thing that we elected you guys. You are destroying our country. Let's move on. So Chrystia Freeland is asked about the Bell situation, whether the corrupt media funding should continue.
Hi, Ms. Freeland. Last week, the Prime Minister had a very passionate response about the Bell layoffs. He said it was a garbage decision from a company that should know better. I assume the budget is around the corner, and you'll know that Bell gets lots of tax credits and other breaks from the federal government in a federally regulated industry. Are you willing to remove Bell's eligibility on that to show the federal government's displeasure with what happened?
Good question.
So everyone sitting in front of me and one of the people sitting here is a journalist. I used to be a journalist. It is heartbreaking for me as a journalist and now as an elected leader to see that announcement. And it's heartbreaking because Canadian journalism is foundational for Canadian democracy. We can only be a country that works if we have you guys telling our stories, holding our feet to the fire.
Corrupt stories.
And we need you to do it across the country, from coast to coast to coast. We can't have news deserts. You have seen from our government a commitment to journalism, a commitment to communities across the country, in big cities and in small towns. Democracy has to happen everywhere. And we are definitely looking at ways going forward that we can support journalism and journalists across the country.
Largest companies, they laid off 9% of their workforce in the same day they raised their dividend for the 20th straight year. Do you think that's an ethical way to do business for one of Canada's biggest companies?
Just so anyone who doesn't follow stocks and stock market, whatever, by increasing a company's dividend, yet laying off people, the dividend essentially makes the shares worth more. The company's buying their shares back, thus increasing the value of all those shares. So if you're one of the owners of the company, you own a ton of those shares, you thus increase your own value, but at the same time laying off a bunch of employees. It's highly corrupt. It's yeah, that's unethical.
I do want to come back to journalists and journalism. For me, that is at the heart of this issue. The work that journalists do, telling our stories, telling Canada's story in this challenging world, is absolutely essential. We cannot be a functional democracy without it. And Canada is huge and vast, and we need journalists across the country. A very tough time for journalism. We recognize that, and we're going to be there to support journalists and journalism.
She has nothing.
And then the other thing I'll say is this. We need companies in Canada who are investing in Canada and in Canadians.
Obviously, she's going to keep supporting corrupt legacy media because that's how they got in power. That's how they've been staying in power. Next up from this same rural housing panel, they ask a question about Ukraine and rebuilding it.
Yesterday, the EU adopted a law to set aside windfall profits made on frozen Russian central bank assets, which is considered a step toward taking the other central bank assets and using them to help reconstruct Ukraine. Do you think that there might be a more general decision on seizing or confiscating the Russian assets by then? And what might it look like? Is it going to be collateral, or is it going to be directly confiscated and liquidated to help Ukraine?
One of the things that I think has surprised a lot of people particularly Vladimir Putin, is the extent to which the alliance of the democracies of the non-geographic West has really held together. Canada believes in the principle that the aggressor should pay. Russia has done tremendous damage to Ukraine, continues to do tremendous damage to Ukraine. It's going to cost a lot of money to rebuild, and we think it is absolutely appropriate for the aggressor to pay for that damage. As you know very well, Steve, Canada took a lead from the moment of the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. We have really set a standard for legislation permitting the seizure and the confiscation of Russian assets. Canada thinks that we need to go further, and we're going to keep working with our partners on that.
To stay on the Ukraine theme, U.S. presidential candidate Trump suggested that if he becomes president, he will he invited Russia to attack NATO countries that weren't paying 2% of GDP in military spending. That would include Canada. I just wanted to ask if you fear that the election of Donald Trump would spell the end of NATO.
So I'll say two things. First of all, the core principle of NATO is an attack on one country is an attack on all. It's up to the American people to choose their leader, and a core responsibility of any Canadian government is to work effectively and in pursuit and defense of the national interest with whoever the American people choose to lead them.
Yeah, she basically just dodged the question there. She obviously nervous because it's not a mystery that Trump doesn't like Trudeau. So that's all we got for this one. Chrystia Freeland mentions a few times, anytime she's asked about anything now, she just talks about how many jobs they're creating. She's on to her new talking point. It's just pathetic deflection as usual. So while this is a stressful situation, I have a silent hiking channel. It's Quiet Bootsteps in the Forest. If you're looking for something to chill out to, which I'll link up here, be sure to subscribe. Stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you guys in the next one.